DX Central, one of our favorite ways to DX is portable DX. Outside, in nature, in the elements, with portable radios or SDRs, portable antennas, where we get away from the noise and away from people and into nature to try to lure in elusive DX signals. And most of the time we're using things like our magnetic loops, like the U-loop or the W6LVP loop. And while they have yielded really great results for us, especially on our beach expeditions, there's always a little part of me that wanted to try to reproduce at least somewhat close to the terminated loop antennas that I have at home, but in a portable setting. So it's with that in mind that we've put together a couple of options for some portable terminated loops that we can use on our little trips to the beach or camping or wherever it might be. Today, we're going to look at one of those options. It's a portable 6 by 10 foot flag antenna with a termination and amplifier on one side, and we're going to take it down to the beach and see what it can do on a Sunset DX expedition. Stick around.
Now, most of you know that here at DX Central, we're really big believers in what are called terminated loop antennas for AM DX. These come in many different formats, from CASs and DCASs, U's, pennants, flags, and the such. And you've heard us talk a lot about them here on our YouTube channel and also over on Twitter, twitter.com/DXCentral. And when we talk about them, we talk about what a great job they do at giving us big antenna performance from a small footprint. So we can get maybe in the ballpark or near beverage-like performance from a much, much smaller antenna. But what if I wanted to go DX portable? We've been using things like our magnetic loops, our W6LVP loop, our U-loop, things like that. But what if I wanted to replicate that terminated loop antenna performance on a beach or in a park? So what we've done here at DX Central is we've designed a portable flag antenna. This is something that you can use some PVC and wire and a couple of other little parts to put together and put inside a duffel bag everything you need to go beachside or parkside or wherever you might be, away from noise, away from people, and get really great DX results with a portable terminated loop antenna. So today we're going to show you how we've designed that, what you'll need to build your own version. We'll talk about some of the construction techniques and the design and the build techniques, and then we're going to show you a really quick test that we did, a sunset test here at our backyard antenna farm. And then we're going to pack it all up and do a proof of concept test down on Sullivan's Island, South Carolina, right at sunset, right around spring equinox, so you can see, does this antenna perform in a real world environment right on the beach and give us the results that we're looking for. So let's start first though with the design.
All right, so we're going to take a look at our design here for our portable flag antenna. What I wanted with this design was something that was large enough to make it a serious DX antenna, okay? I didn't want something so compact that it was such a compromise that it wasn't going to be worthwhile for pulling in transatlantics or trans-Pacific or whatever it is you're working off of. So transoceanic DX, or in my case, you know, trying to get into South America, things like that. I wanted something that could pull in weak signals, and combined with my AirSpy could allow me to really do a good job at recording and pulling in weak DX signals. So I wanted that. So I knew I wanted a terminated loop antenna, one that would have on one side, you know, an amplifier on one side where my DX would be coming from, and on the other would be a termination resistor that I could dial in with a variable amount to get the peak amount of resistance so that I could null stations from the direction I didn't want them to come in. So I know I needed that. And I know because of that, I would not want a tiny little thing, because you know, the smaller it is, the less it's going to really do at pulling in weak signals, even with that 23 dB of gain. So what I settled on was a 6 by 10 model, okay? So a 6 foot high by 10 foot wide flag antenna. Now, I mentioned I want this to be something I can just shove into a duffel bag and be able to carry on to a beach or wherever it is that I might be. So with that in mind, I needed something I could break down. I didn't want to have a big 8 foot or whatever long or 6 foot long painter pole that I had to deal with, plus all my other pieces of the puzzle. I needed something that could be broken down very easily, fit into a duffel bag, and just be carried. So I decided to try using PVC. So with that, that meant I needed to do a lot of little pieces to put together the frame that I wanted to put together. So what I landed on, I was going to do something that had kind of the traditional flag shape like this, right? So a traditional flag, obviously not that distorted looking, but a traditional flag shape, rectangular, 10 feet by 6 feet. And I was going to do something with the little piece in the middle right here, and then I kind of have it docked out like that with some cross beams and kind of do it that way. I just didn't like that design. I thought it was going to be too complicated and too difficult. So I decided to go with something that was a little bit more like this. So we have our traditional flag shape. And what I then did was I put in a middle brace in the middle. So we kind of have two squares, and the two squares together make up the larger flag. So that meant if I put that directly in the middle, that this would be, that this would be 5 feet here, and this would be 5 feet here. Same thing on the bottom. So I'd have 4 5-foot sections. Well, that's fine because most of the PVC that I'm going to be able to buy in my hardware stores, my local hardware stores, are 5-foot sections. So that's perfect. But again, 5 feet's just a little too long to shove into a duffel bag. So here's what I did. Again, we've got our overall shape with our brace in the middle. I took my 5-foot sections and I cut them in half, right in the middle, to make 8 2.5-foot sections. And in those little breaks right there, I use a coupler. Okay, I'm using 1-inch PVC for all of this, so I just use one of these couplers to join the two pieces. Okay, so now we got to start looking at a shopping list for what we're going to have to get. So I obviously know I need 5-foot PVC sections. I know I'm going to need couplers. I'm going to need some T's, okay? So we're going to want to have T's. So we're going to have these T's right here, right? Basically to allow me to put this piece into here and this piece into here. I could also use corners if I wanted to. If you'd rather go the corner route, by all means do that. That's your call. I just used T's because I had a bag of 10 that I had a bunch left over from another project, so I used T's right here. So you're going to want to have 1, 2, 3, 4 if you go the corner route, or if you go the T route, you're going to need 5 T's. You're still going to, even if you do the corners, you're still going to need a T right here for this little part right here. So it's either 1 T and 4 corners or 5 T's. Okay. So I know I'm going to need the 5 T's here. I also know I'm going to need a 4-way right here in this little spot right here. Okay. And the reason I like using the T's down here on the bottom instead of the corners is because with my design, I wanted to have a way to provide ground stakes at all 3 of these locations. Now, the flip side of that is if I were to use corners here instead of the middle one here, or instead of T's, if I used corners here and only had the middle stake here, I can rotate this entire antenna. That's up to you if you want to go that route. So you can either do the 4 corners, a T and a 4-way, and have the 1 ground stake here in the middle, and then you can rotate this antenna, or you can do what I've done, and I've got the 5 T's with the 4-way, and I have ground stake, ground stake, ground stake. Okay. Totally up to you, whatever way works best for you. It's a big antenna, especially at the beach in windy conditions. So if you are going to do that, where you have the rotatable version, you're definitely going to want to pay attention when I start talking about the ground, or the guy ropes here in a bit. And by the T's, I mean these little shaped guys right here that basically have you coming in, and going in. All right, so we know we're going to need these pieces here. For the couplers, what I also had to do, let me get rid of that right there. What I also had to do, because again, I want a compact little thing. I didn't want 6 feet of PVC here, so I had to basically decide to do cuts of those in half and do 3-foot sections, one on top, one on the bottom. And again, those will result in couplers. So that gives me a total of 7 couplers. And now with these 3-foot sections, I basically took a 5-foot section and just cut it at 3 feet. That left me a 2-foot section, which was perfect because those are the 2-foot sections that I'm going to use here, here, and here to make my ground stakes. If you're doing the 1 ground stake option, obviously a 2-footer should work unless you wanted to go with a bigger ground stake. Completely up to you. It's your antenna design on this part. So that leaves me a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 total 5-foot sections. All right. So from a purely PVC standpoint, that's what we're looking at. 10 5-foot sections, 7 couplers, 5 T's, or whatever combination of T's and corner you want to use, and a 4-way. All right. So that's the PVC section. What else are you going to need? Well, we're also going to want to add in for our wires and our actual antenna itself. That's just the frame. We're going to have a pulley system here that we use here, 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 and here. And those pulleys are what's going to hold our wire. Now, you can attach the pulley directly to the PVC, but that's going to make it a little bit difficult if you did like I did. I'm using banana plugs for my wires. So on the ends of my wires, I'm connecting everything with banana plugs. So it makes it a little difficult to push that through and out of the pulley if you're using the pulley system. So what I decided to do was I went ahead and put my 2 pulleys on each wire, because you have a top wire that basically runs like this. And then you have a bottom wire that runs like this. Okay, they're both, that's obviously not going to go down that far. It's going to go right here along this side, but I just wanted to make sure you could see it. 16 feet, 3 feet up, 10 feet over, 3 feet up, 10 feet over, 3 feet down. And so 16 feet of wire, top and bottom. I usually use red for my top wire, black for my bottom wire, because when I'm going over to use my resistor, it usually has a red and a black. I want to be able to keep everything consistent. Okay, so red is top, black is bottom, ground wire. So with these pulleys, what I decided to do was I used some rope and I tied on carabiners onto these 4 corners. Now, when I tie those on there, you're going to want to make sure you put them on the outside of the pole. If you put them on the inside, then you put your pulley on that. It's going to pull that wire in so far in that you're not going to get your full 6x10. So put your carabiner on the outside of the pole. I just used some rope and tied it onto that little corner over there. Then I use electrical tape to really make sure that rope never comes undone. And then I have a carabiner sitting there. And then when I connect everything, I just clip my pulley onto the carabiner, and that's it. So with that, you're going to need carabiners. You're going to need 4 for your pulleys. So you're going to need 4 pulleys. Now, I recommend that you use nylon pulleys. That way you're not having any kind of metal contact with your wire for your antenna. So a nice nylon pulley should do the trick. So 4 little pulleys, and I'll put this in the description of all the stuff that I used. 4 pulleys should do the trick here. And then you're going to need 4 carabiners for those, but you're also going to want to have another 2 carabiners up at the top for guy rope connections. So you're going to need a total of 6 carabiners for this part of the frame. Okay, we're going to have more carabiners than we need for the guy ropes, but for this part, that's what we need, 6 carabiners here. You're going to need 4, if you're going to use what I've used here, 4 banana plugs. Oops. And with those, what I'm basically looking at, these guys here, is what I used, and I just have 2 for the top rope, 2 for the bottom rope. So there's your 4. So 2 pairs of banana plugs. Okay, if you're not going to use banana plugs, if you're going to use the bare wire, you can do that. If you're going to use terminals, you can put terminals on there like these guys, which is what I'm actually going to have to use for these, since these don't use binding posts, these use these kind of wing nut screw-on terminals, I'm going to need to recut some wire and put on one of these crimp-on terminals onto my wire. So that's what I'm going to be using for my new version that I'll be doing with this new Russian amplifier set that I picked up from eBay. Okay, so, or terminals. Okay, so either 4 banana plugs or terminals, whichever way it is for you. Okay, and then you're gonna need a feed line, obviously. If you're using the Wellbrook, I think I also picked up from this one. I picked up 50 ohm, if I remember correctly. So yeah, if you're using the Wellbrook, they definitely recommend a 50 ohm feed line. Okay. All right, so here's part of our shopping list right here for the actual antenna itself. You're also going to want, obviously, your wire. I used 14 gauge wire, stranded. You're going to need at least 32 feet for the actual antenna. For the actual antenna itself, it's going to need 32 feet, 2 16-foot wire segments. So there's your shopping list for the actual antenna itself. There's also a secondary shopping list you'll have for the guy ropes. You're going to need, for the guy ropes, 4 tent stakes. Or if you were using the PVC stakes, if you're only using the one here in the middle, you can use 4 PVC stakes from the, because you're going to have 6 2-foot sections left over. So you can use those here. If you wanted to use those as your tent stakes and save yourself some money, you can definitely do that. You're going to need an additional, 8 carabiners here. Right, did I get that right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, 8 carabiners. Carabee. And that's going to be basically one end to clip up here at the top, and then one end down here at the bottom where the tent stake is. And then another one to clip at the top, another one for the tent stake, and do the same thing on the other side. So you'll have 4 on each side, 2 per rope. Obviously, you're going to need your rope. And that's it. That's your carabiners for your guy ropes. That's going to be a pretty important part, especially if you're using the one stake version, the rotatable version of this. You're definitely going to want to have the guy ropes on there. And what I basically had, imagine one going this way, one coming this way, one going this way, one going that way, and basically providing that support. So if we're looking at it head on like this from the end over here, it won't drift and go this way, because it will in a windy environment. It's going to do that. It's going to try to twist and everything. So having one on each end prevents that from happening. So you'll have 2 per side, per end. And that is my portable flag. Again, there are some tweaks you can make to it to make it your own. If you want to use different kinds of wire, use whatever you have on hand. If you want to use the one stake version and be able to rotate it, that's definitely, I know a lot of folks have mentioned that's something they wanted to try out. But what I did was I made mine more kind of stationary and secured in the sand, because I'm going to be in a lot of windy environments. But if you're not going to be in such a windy environment and you want to have something you can rotate, by all means, give that a shot. Let me know what you think of it. Obviously, you'll need to be able to pull up your guy ropes and re-tent stake it down. But if you go that route and have a rotatable version, please let me know what you do with yours. I'd love to see how that works, and maybe I might want to try that myself. We shall see. But that's basically it. The only other thing that I wanted to make sure that I kind of mentioned that I did is that right here on one side where this coupler is here, and where this coupler is right here, I put my boxes, my amplifier box and my termination box, and I use electrical tape, like you see right here, to secure that to my PVC pole, so that it would always be there. And then I just decide when I'm going to set up my antenna, the orientation that I want to have it pointed, which end needs to be the termination side, which needs to be the amplifier side.
So now you know how we're going to be working with the PVC. So let's go ahead and show you what this looks like once we put everything together on the PVC frame, and talk a bit about from there how we're going to attach the antenna itself to this PVC frame. All right, so we have our first test run of the 6x10 flag. You'll see here we have our Wellbrook FLG 100LN. A little tightening I can do here on my upper wire. You'll see it's a little droopy here, so I can cut a little bit there, cut a little bit on the bottom wire too. Pull it up just a little bit here on the pulley. So you see, got a carabiner to a pulley, carabiner to a pulley, carabiner to a pulley, carabiner to a pulley. So I hook those pulleys onto the carabiners on all four corners, and then run my wires, connections, my banana plugs up to where I want them to be. This is my 5,000 ohm, actually it's about 2,000 ohm variable resistor. And then the Wellbrook amp. You'll see I've got my PVC stakes that I just kind of tented into the ground just with a little mallet. Just pop those in, and that's my support there. The next thing I have left to do is up here at the top. I need to drill some holes right here, and then on the other side up here on the top of those T's, run some rope with another carabiner on it, and then I can hook carabiners to basically run off the side, straight back, and then the same thing on the other end, straight back, off the side. That will give this support, because right now you can kind of see it's kind of leaning a little bit. And then I want that to not happen. I want it to be upright, right? So this will give it that support, especially when I take it to the beach on a windy beach condition. This will give it some support. So hopefully that will help it keep it upright. All right, so we've looked at the design, we've looked at how we're gonna build this and put it all together. We've got our frame put together, we've got our antenna now on the frame. So let's show you a little quick test that we did here in the backyard antenna farm of trying this out around sunset to see if it would actually pull in signals. Was there going to be enough gain, enough directionality to do what we wanted it to do? I've got my Surface Pro 6 running SDR console. I've got my AirSpy HF Plus Discovery. There's a Wellbrook amp, and right now it's being powered by the little battery pack that I got from my W6 LVP loop. So this is right now powering the Wellbrook preamp. I found another one of these. This is a 3,000 milliamp hour battery pack. It powered the W6 LVP loop power inserter for about 3 hours without even dipping off of all 5 lights, and didn't even go down to the 4th light. We'll see how long this one lasts, but I found on Amazon last night a 6,000 milliamp hour battery pack just like this with the adapters and everything that I'm gonna get for my Wellbrook here. So that should allow me to operate this preamp for hours. I'm thinking about 12 hours, based on it's a 500 milliamp draw from the Wellbrook, and I'll have a 6,000 milliamp hour, so I should be able to get about 10 to 12 hours out of it of a full charge. It's a little chilly outside, so I got my Mr. Heat here, the propane buddy, and just like I did when I was camping out a couple years ago. And we're gonna see what we can hear here. See if we get some good digs. I got my camping table set up here. Real nice, easy pack up camping table. And there's the antenna over there. Not too shabby, eh? So let's go ahead and pack everything up, put it in our big duffel bag, and head down to the beach and see what we can hear with this portable 6x10 flag antenna. we're down here on Sullivan's Island right now. We got our portable flag set up here. We got my operation set up here, a little table right here on the water, so we can do some sunset DX here on spring equinox. We have an A index of 29, K index of 5, and we have our antenna oriented at 200, I think it's 210 degrees, so basically south-southwest. So it should have a nice look into Central America and into South America as well, that Pacific side of South America. We've got our center tune frequency for the upper end of the AM band. Most of the South Americans that I'm chasing are going to probably hopefully be. So let's get this going. Sunset has approached our coastline here, and we're kissing up against it. So in the next hour or so, we're going to have ourselves a nice little sunset. Hopefully some great DX to go with it. Not a bad way to DX, eh? This is downtown Charleston over here, off to the side. Not a bad way to DX. You can see there's the setting sun, so you can tell we're pointing about south-southwest here. Or southwest than anything, but yeah, we're now rolling. I'm recording on the Air Spy. Wind is pretty stiff, so just sitting here trying to keep everything from falling off. Got my power box ready to roll once this battery starts to die. Got my power adapter, plug it into the cigarette lighter on the power box. It's all charged up and ready to roll. So yeah, we are sitting pretty good tonight. Hopefully we can hear some good DX. Conditions are theoretically, on paper, favorable for us for Latin America, but we'll see how that holds up, if that rings true here. All right, I'm going to see if I can demonstrate my variable resistor that I have here. This is a 2000 ohm variable resistor, and I'm on 1130 right now. I have a antenna that's oriented southwest, and the back side here is northeast, which is what I'm trying to terminate. If I turn my terminating resistor all the way down, you'll hear I've got WBBR New York. Now if I come over here, there, I got my maximum null. So you can see with that null in, there's no WBBR, and it will allow a Latin station, hopefully, since I'm pointing southwest, to come in. So our verdict here, there's my logbook amp, the bottom wire and top wire going up, bottom wire coming down. This thing is champ. With these guy ropes, especially in this high wind environment here at the beach, you'll see how I have those kind of put in with the carabiners here. Tit stake. This thing is held up very, very well. It's performing very, very well. I've got a band full of Latin stations. Now it is a high AMX night, but utilizing my variable resistor here, I would expect to be able to null out those stations to the northeast and so forth, and have a lot of Latin stations, and that's exactly what I have. So this 6x10 portable flag with a Wellbrook amplifier and a variable resistor to tune in the back null. It's easy to put together. What I basically do to start off, I start with one end. Usually it's this end where the amplifier is, which is my right end if you're looking at the antenna. There's the left side over here, middle, right. So I start off, I put a stake in the ground with this section, which from here to here, start off there, put that in the ground. And then I put my next section in, which goes to my 4-way, put that stake in the ground. Now I've got that whole area. Put my next section in, go into my next 3-way here, T, stake, put that in. Make sure everything is nice and straight, make sure it's vertical, put all that in. Then I put in my middle stakes, my middle sections. That's on one end, the left end, the termination box, a blank one here in the middle, and the right side where I have my amplifier. The top section here to here to here to here, and then to here to here. I build that on the ground. I go ahead and I put my pulleys on the hooks here, here, and then I put my guy ropes on as well, because obviously I'm not going to be able to get up to that once it's up. So I put my guy ropes hooked on, my pulleys hooked on, pick up the middle, put it in, and then I put the other end and the other end, whichever one I want to start with. Get those three in. Then I do my stakes on my guy ropes on both ends. I connect my sky wire, which is, for me, I always use red for my sky wire for consistency, so I connect my sky wire first. Base wire, pulley on that side, connect it with black, connect it with the other side, and then I feed my feed line. Here you'll notice the feed line comes up and stays off the ground. And then I connect everything up. Feed line coming to my wellbrook box going to my air spy, that going to power my wellbrook box. This right now is powering my laptop. So, I mean, it's working better than I could even imagine that it would. You know, it's holding up really, really well in the wind, and the performance on the radio itself is actually very, very solid. So I think we have ourselves a winner in this portable 6x10 flag. Is it going to be as good as a DCAS or better? No, not even close. But is it going to get me really good DX? Absolutely. Is it compact? No, it's not compact. I have a 40-inch duffel bag that I'll show you that has everything packed up inside of it. And you have a lot, obviously you have 1, 2, 3, see, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. You have 17 sections of PVC. The longest is about 38 inches. So is it compact? No. But it's easy to set up. It's very easy to set up. And it works. It works really, really well. So if you have yourself a little camping table that you can set up now or on the beach, I need to add some tension with a guy rope for the table because the wind was trying to blow it over. But if you have yourself a little camping table like this, a little portable DC power solution for your laptop, which you may or may not need, it's up to you. Some way to power your amplifier, whether it's a logbook or one of the Russian maids or whatever you're using. This little portable power pack here does the trick. And then just record. I'm just recording. I've been listening and hearing some great Latin DX, but recording is the main thing here, so I can go back in after the fact and see what all I caught. And you know, this is doing the job. This really is. This variable resistor is doing a great job of mowing. Amplifier is giving me plenty of gain. Capture area is enough. And it has enough directionality. That this is actually a very good, portable, terminated loop DX antenna. So a word of note for your own deployment here of the portable flag. So one of the things that I had to do is I originally had these pulleys on the inside, kind of like that. And so they were kind of coming in and then they were pulling in this way, and it was taking this wire that I had that was cut to length, and it was kind of making it very floppy here in the middle and at the top, tree drooping. So I actually took some tape and mounted it so that the carabiner would be on the outside of this. Now I can twist that around or whatever I need to do with it, but basically that forces this to pull it a little bit further back instead of being kind of further in like that. And I have a much more stout installation
South Carolina, where we had ourselves a pretty successful evening. The question everyone's been asking, how's it work? It works pretty great. I heard a lot of Latin signals, as you would probably imagine, with a high A index, and being on the beach like that, oriented towards the southwest, you would hope you would hear a lot of Latin signals. If it was working well, we'd hear a lot of Latin signals, and we did. Especially once we were able to dial in the resistance on the backside to terminate out the northeast. Man, it was just Latin City. So I think from a proof of concept, yeah, 6x10 flag with a fair amount of gain on the front end. 23 dB is what I had. You can also find those 30 dB Russian models on eBay. And so if you have a small backyard, or even if you have, you want to do a portable to a campground or a beach or a park or whatever, yeah, you can take this sucker out there with you, get a little battery power pack, power the amp on it, and you should be good to go.
If you found this video to be helpful, as always, give us a thumbs up and leave a comment in the comment section. And don't forget to click subscribe and the bell icon so you can be notified when new videos are available. From all of us here at DX Central, as always, 73, best of DX. Now let's go hit the bands.
DX Central, because we're all about radio.